Howdy, welcome back. I'm Steven and this is FWP Reviews. It's been a minute. Fortunately for all of you, it's Christmas time and I decided to give you the gift of trying to get back into making some pretty regular videos. I wanted to start with, of course, a Christmas related video, seeing as the holiday is Christmas, and what I decided to go with this year was the gifts that keep on giving. Every sort of hobby has gifts that keep on giving, especially movie watching, so naturally there are a lot of movies that I would consider gifts that keep on giving. Seeing as I am also the gift that keeps on giving when it comes to making YouTube videos, although quite sporadically, I figured who the better authority on this topic than me. Without further ado, FWP presents the gifts that keep on giving. The definition of a gift that keeps on giving to me, and not Urban Dictionary, is a movie that fits into a fairly broad category, but it also fits into some more narrow categories that sort of help define that gift that keeps on giving mentality. Firstly, I would say they have to have a high rewatchability. If you can't continually rewatch a movie, how can it be a gift that keeps on giving? The second of these more minor categories I would say that this kind of movie needs to fit into is that it needs to add new layers every time you view it. If you can't draw something else out of the movie every time you watch it, then the rewatchability in terms of entertainment can't always be enough to make it fit into this more overarching category of a gift that keeps on giving. To put it more simply, I would say that a gift that keeps on giving needs to always be a positive experience and a unique experience. It's not always the same, but it's always something fun to dive into. Now that I've outlined what I think a gift that keeps on giving is, let's get into some examples. Dune is one of the movies that I have fallen in love with most recently. I don't think anybody would be surprised by this, knowing that this is an adaptation of the first half of my favorite book ever written. The first time I watched this movie, I fell in love with it. Part of me was apprehensive to go all in on this movie because we were not fully sure that we were going to get a sequel. But by the time that I had watched the movie the second time, it had been confirmed that we were going to get a sequel. Every time I revisit this movie, my hype is renewed and increased for the sequel. This movie keeps on giving that gift of hype for the second movie, and I think that if the second movie is great, that's just going to further enhance this movie. It really is the first of two parts, maybe three, so seeing as that is the way this movie keeps giving its gift is in form of hype, and I think eventually the overarching 2-movie or 3-movie story is going to be the ultimate gift that keeps on giving. One of the first movies I revisited on a quest to make this video was La La Land. This beautiful modern musical is Damien Chazelle's best work in my opinion. I love revisiting this movie and peeling back the character motivations in a different way each time I watch it. What made this movie so special this time I viewed it was I made several of my friends watch it, and getting to watch them react to the ending made it a whole new gift-giving experience altogether for me. It was hilarious, it was sad, and it was everything I could have wanted it to be. I revisited Damien Chazelle's other masterpiece, Whiplash, as well. The great use of music in this movie always makes this something entertaining and invigorating to watch. J.K. Simmons is giving a masterclass in psychopathic, whatever pathic you want to call him. It's a brilliant watch from start to finish, but the movie really finds its stride in the ending, and every time I've seen the ending, I've taken something new away from it, and that is really where Whiplash derives its gift that keeps on giving mentality. Spider-Verse 2 is finally going to come out next year, and that has left one movie pretty prevalently on my mind, which is the original Into the Spider-Verse movie. The animation changed the game, and it is far and above one of the most compelling Spider-Man or any comic book stories ever put to the big screen. It is immersive visually and thematically. Every time I watch this movie, I am filled with an overwhelming amount of joy, entertainment, and so much more. In the same vein as Spider-Verse, one of the movies that feels the most like Spider-Verse is Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. This movie is a blast. It's probably the best video game adaptation ever made, and it features one of the best comedic ensembles ever put to screen. It uses its music, quirky visuals, and excellent action to make one of the most entertaining movies ever made. Every time I watch this movie, it draws me in fully, and it's a complete and utter experience that I wouldn't change anything about. One of my favorite movies to revisit around the holidays is Little Women. I would say it's extremely fitting that one of the gifts that keeps on giving is the movie that I go back to every single holiday season. This stunning movie makes me weep from sadness and from joy. It does both of these things, and it tells a story of how important domestic struggles are, and it tells the story of sisterhood and family so poignantly and effectively that it draws me in and lets me fully experience the story every time I watch it. I want to rapid fire a few from one of my favorite genres, which is animation. Aside from the countless movies Pixar has released that fit into this category, Up, Ratatouille, etc., I would say there's a few that stand out on their own. The How to Train Your Dragon trilogy is virtually unmatched in terms of animation for me. The best of these is the second. It features some of the most emotional moments in any animated movie I have ever seen. The trilogy as a whole features excellent animation and a story about brotherhood and responsibility. Coraline and Fantastic Mr. Fox are two stop-motion animated movies that I find myself continually revisiting as well. A couple movies that fit into this category are movies that I have found the most enjoyable to show other people. I would rewatch these movies a lot on my own, even if it wasn't for showing other people, but I always try to find the excuse for when I get around to my yearly rewatch to show somebody else. The first of these is Shiva Baby. Shiva Baby is a short, well-told, anxiety-based comedy. It features a lot of interesting elements about social anxiety and just it uses that and it twists the knife on the viewer, and it's probably one of the funniest movies I've ever seen as well. The Kid Detective starts as a sort of character study on the idea of a gifted kid falling from grace. Then the movie delves into this sort of twisted, mysterious story, and by the end there's this massive twist that still keeps me coming back every time because it hits so hard, but it's just so enjoyable to show other people and just see as the hilarious, funny movie turns into something even darker and twisted than you could possibly imagine. Time for a rapid fire round featuring some of the greatest movies of all time in my opinion. We'll start with number 1. Portrait of a Lady on Fire. It is the most brilliantly told, bittersweet love story ever made. It's brilliantly filmed and made, performed. Everything about this movie is flawless. It moves me deeply every time I get to view this movie, and naturally my favorite movie of all time would have to be A Gift That Keeps On Giving for me. Arrival is a fascinating watch, and it's actually the first movie I ever reviewed, so it holds a pretty special place in my heart. I would say this movie fits this category because it's so fascinating to think about how you would act in a situation where you knew where your future was going. It sort of peels back the psychology of that with its characters, and it allows you to fill in the blanks and think about what you would do. 2001: A Space Odyssey is a pretty basic pick for one of my favorite movies of all time, but I don't care. It's a huge and expansive sci-fi story, which I love, and the part that sort of fits this category of Gift That Keeps On Giving for me is that each section sort of stands out to me more during multiple rewatches. The ending, the gate, the period where they're dealing with Hal, all of these different moments have stood out to me more on different occasions, and it's allowed me to sort of broaden my thoughts about the movie as a whole. One of the movies that has found its way into this category this year has been Top Gun: Maverick. Top Gun: Maverick is the best sequel ever made in terms of paying homage to the original and making itself even better. Tom Cruise is quickly working to become the best movie star that has ever lived in terms of these big blockbusters, and his work on this movie really shines through. This movie is a blast. Every time I dive into it, I love it more and more. In fact, I'll probably see this movie every time it comes out in theaters for the foreseeable future. I've already seen it 4 times, so. I've outlined numerous examples, and I'm sure there are countless more for you personally and for me as well. This is a fairly low stakes video. I figured it would be the easiest to try and dive back into YouTube. You'll have to forgive any rough spots around the edges as I try to get back into the swing of things. Christmas time is around, and it's been really great revisiting some of the movies that I love so much, and I hope you all have a Merry Christmas and a Happy Holidays. Next week there should be a video detailing some of my thoughts on the Criterion Challenge that I completed this year. The FWP Film Awards are coming up, so be sure to follow my Instagram at FWP Reviews 100 for that, as well as daily written reviews about the newest movies. And with that, this is FWP Reviews signing off. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one.